either. It's an interesting time. It seems that Ben Bernanke is now the deer in the headlights. His mind is blank. He doesn't know what to do, so he's basically on automatic without control and running the US into the ground. He might be doing some unconventional things. He has very little options. Maybe it's unconventional to raise the interest rates to 12%, where they should be or something. But I believe personally that the whole deficit problem is not a real problem. It's basically the only, group that should have a real problem with that is the Arabs, from which the oil was stolen using those paper dollars to run the US economy. And the problem with the deficit is not that you have it, but that right now you don't have as much energy available to keep your population alive. So you really have, you should really forget about the whole deficit. That's what I think. It's just it's a phantom, and it may mean war. But if there's no oil or money for war, then that might not even happen. So it's just like it's a successful theft. That's what it is to me, by the US from the rest of the world. It seems to be successful. But so in that context, it's very interesting, I think, to look for where the new energy will come from, and that's a very positive angle. There's two angles to the whole future thing, and that's, I think, that you have endless prosperity based on renewables, because they make the cost of energy zero, and therefore the cost of almost everything zero, because you don't have the energy production cost, the logistic production cost. Internet will be, all these costs. There are real energy costs calculated in everything at the moment, and all you need is, in the end, if you have enough energy to do things, you only need skilled labor and a way to distribute whatever you make. So that's let's say the economy with the money. The money serves for people to be able to make choices between what they would like to have, and then if they have spent it with the companies, in my theory, the companies will have to give back all the money that is profit that they didn't pay out to their employees or to their suppliers or whatever. Give it back to the government, and the government will give it back to the people. That's the economy that's based completely on renewables. And maybe a small portion will go to the cost of energy, but of course that's marginal. It's maintenance cost of the facilities. That's one side of it. Of course, you have knocked out the banks of the picture. They are not in the picture, so they're not profiting from money per se. That's just the ludicrous situation. And I heard that Dennerger was defending fractional reserve banking. Well, yeah, he always had a screw loose, in my opinion. And he's just, he went along with lots of scares and hypes in the past, so I'm not 100% on his side. He's a very smart guy, but if he defends fractional reserve banking, he basically defends deception. And you can't really defend banks deceiving people out of their income. It's just so as simple as that. If a bank can loan out 10 euros 10 times with 5% interest because you gave him 1 euro, then the bank is making 15%, 5 euros off of your 1 euro. It just doesn't make any sense. And why would you create debt into circulation? It doesn't. I don't really think that's a good thing to do, and that's why I built a website called Barter Shares, which is based on the idea that money is not money, let's say, separate from commodities or any other goods or services. It is basically always representing something. It always represents, and it doesn't have to be gold or silver, it has to be something that's of use to somebody. And if it doesn't, then, of course, it should be worthless paper and considered as such. So that's fractional reserve banking. You would have knocked out that aspect of our current system. The whole banking system, you've been basically knocked out. It is obsolete. We have IT, internet technology that can take care of all transactions very cheaply and very automatically, and resolve all these trades that we might want to do as citizens. And in my barter share example, you would be able to trade and buy and sell using fractions of products. And then once you have 100% of the product, you can go to the store and get it with your share, your barter share. But so that's one side, and the other, the doomsday scenario, is of course much worse. That is that there's really no saving life on Earth. So there's only going to be more and more and more trouble. I spoke to somebody that is a human rights attorney yesterday, which is interesting. It was not because of part of my film project, Self-Defense Against Extinction, but random. And but she told me that there's more and more cases of what are we going to do with refugees that can no longer sustain themselves in their environment because of climate change. And she saw the best. I said, well, I have a number of opinions about it, but the one that resonated the most was migrate. But I added that you shouldn't migrate because of climate change. You should act in the location where you are because of climate change and fix whatever you need and make whatever you need, because it's not going to improve. So you're going to be migrating. It's just like you're on an iceberg and you're in the middle of the Pacific. That's not a good place to be on the iceberg. If you move away from it, if you move to whatever is left of it, you'll be stuck there, and then there will be no solution. You have to build a raft or find whatever you can find to do something to be able to stay where you are. Because it's not going to improve. That's the doom scenario. It's not going to be better. It's going to be drier and drier and drier. More forest fires, mass migration, war, and all that stuff. And eventually, if you don't fight the process, the acidification of the oceans, it's just not a chance. It's quite obvious to many people. Many people say, well, simply and that's a thing that I can understand very well. You know, you're simply changing the parameters of the environment. Carbon dioxide too high. There's no life for carbon dioxide. Not our present, let's say, menu of species that breathe oxygen, that need a lot of it, that have all these traits and aspects that are simply not sustainable in the new low oxygen, high temperature environment. It's as simple as that. So that's the doom route, and you shouldn't take that. I'm preparing to go to Spain now. I probably mentioned it already, to Spain and Portugal. I have one actual donator that also wants to build parabolic trough reflectors, very interesting. And so the trip is going to France, to a solar furnace, which has very interesting qualities, because of course it's a way to use the sun to do all kinds of things that you usually have to use a lot of electricity for. And if you bypass the transferring energy to electricity and then to heat, you just use the sun directly. You have a number of processes that you can do, and I hope to be talking about that when I arrive there. I'm not that mobile when I'm in a place like this Odielo place in France, so I hope it all works out. Next stop is Seville, where I want to visit the Abengoa solar tower and parabolic trough power plants, which I also hope I can reach when I'm there. I've contacted that organization, and I have a phone number of somebody that might be able to show me around. It's a short notice organization, and then I'll be moving on to Lisbon, to Portugal, because I really want to answer the question, how are they doing it? Because they are having 45% renewables in 5 years, which would put, if you realize that it's a very poor country, then that really is a challenge to everybody. So apparently you can go to 100% renewables in 10 years. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope you donate to my website so I can visit some more places and interview some more people. And I hope I can upload data and material during the trip, but if I don't, then I'll see you in 10 days.